Morning. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Legal Willow Group Coffee Chat. Happy Wednesday, everybody. What are we finishing up? This week, we're finishing up 10 things not to do in your estate plan. So we covered the first three a couple weeks ago. Last week, we did the next three, and today we'll do the last four things. So what's first?
So the next thing you want to avoid doing is the set it and forget it mentality. So a lot of times people will do their estate plan, check it off their list, and think that, okay, I'm good for the rest of my life. The problem with that is things change, your life changes, the laws change. And I think that's probably the biggest thing people don't think about. Because if you do your will and you let 20, 30 years pass without making any updates, there's a very, very high likelihood that some law has changed that may affect the way your estate plan will actually work by the time it goes into effect. So I think that's the least obvious thing. But the most obvious thing is people are born, people pass away, people get married, people get divorced, people become incapacitated.
Your kids grow up and don't need guardians anymore.
Yes, that's a big one. So just regularly looking at your estate plan to see if everything is still the way that you need it to be to accomplish your goals is really important. We recommend a minimum take a look every 3 years.
So next up is not planning for long-term care. So not thinking about making sure your plan has the flexibility in case you need long-term care, in case your family needs to do some advanced planning in order to afford long-term care. There are some specific provisions that we want to see in all estate plans and all powers of attorney that allow your family members to have the most flexibility and the best way to be able to plan in the future. And it's at a point in which you can no longer execute a new power of attorney. And probably one of the worst things to have to say to people is say, oh, sorry, can't help. You don't have this power.
Yeah. So especially if you've done your estate plan a long time ago, or you've done it yourself, and you have the Maryland statutory power of attorney form, durable power of attorney form, they just updated that to allow you to give your agents the ability to make changes on your behalf if needed. And if you had the one prior to October of 23, you don't have that. And so as Megan was saying, if you become incapacitated, you're stuck with the plan you have, which may not allow long-term care planning.
Next up is keeping it a secret.
Yes.
So I think we hear this from a lot of people. Well, do I have to tell all my family? Do I need to let people know? And at a bare minimum, you need to let them know where to find your documents in case something happens and how to access them.
Yes.
Best place to keep documents, or the one place not to keep your documents?
Safe deposit box at the bank. A lot of our clients want to keep their original wills in there, and we don't recommend that because if somebody else other than you and your spouse cannot access that box, the bank requires a court order to get into that box, and the court requires your will to get the court order. And so it's a chicken and an egg situation, and it can be very, very time consuming, which can lead to issues with your estate and all sorts of things that are unnecessary. So not a good idea.
Yeah. I think the other part of keeping it a secret is it can just lead to conflict, right? In having the conversations now while you're alive, you're able to say, hey, I've named this person as personal representative or as trustee and you as backup, and this is why.
Yeah.
And so being able to let people know, then there's less conflict when they step into those roles and people don't get their feelings hurt. Why wasn't I selected? All of that. And then also to allow your healthcare decisions. Let people know what your healthcare decisions are and how you want your end of life to look like, what you feel very strongly about, what you want, because again, it's really a great gift to your family. They can't ask, right? You aren't able to tell anyone at that point. And they're going to make the decision based on what they know. And we know a number of people that question that, right? Did I make the right decision? Is that what mom or dad would have wanted? Did I, do everything I could have? Did I do too much? So if you have those conversations ahead of time, you really help your family members.
Yeah, and this doesn't mean you have to tell them specifics, like this person's inheriting this much. You just need to let them know, I have an estate plan. You've been named as a potential XYZ person in this plan, and here's where you can find my documents. If you want to go into more detail, that's up to you. But just let them know it exists and kind of how it is set up and who's in charge. That way it's easier when the time comes.
Yeah. So.
And the last one, this is for those of you who are interested in a trust. Make sure you fund your trust. And what do we mean by that? When you get a trust, you have to then take steps to transfer your personal assets from your own individual name into your trust. If you don't do that, your trust doesn't work. And you end up with an expensive piece of paper and a probate, which is what most people don't want. So your attorney, at a minimum, should do your deed for you to your house. But they should also either fund it for you, some do that, or give you guidance and help and support as you go through that process. So make sure that if you do a trust, you do take the necessary time to fund it, or it's not going to work.
Right.
We'll tell you, it's a waste of money if you do that.
Yeah, it's a binder of really expensive paper.
Paperweight.
In the end. Yeah.
Good paperweight.
Good paper. Because most people usually choose to do a trust to avoid probate. If you don't fund your trust, then yes, the terms of your trust may be followed, but your family members have to go through probate first to get everything funded into your trust for the terms of that trust to work. So it does exactly the opposite of what most people want. I want to avoid probate, so I'm going to get a trust, and then they don't fund it, and everything has to go through probate and then trust administration.
Yes.
So it's double the time, double the hassle.
And possibly double the expense, depending on the situation.
So that's our top 10 of things not to do in your estate plan. We've got a couple things going on this week. Tomorrow night, we will be at 2-Story Chimney Cider Works. I'll get that right. We'll be talking about Estate Planning 101 and there to answer all your questions. We'll drop the registration link in the comments if you want to register today and join us. They've got some good ciders and some good beers. So come join us for a drink. And then Saturday, we will be at Only Days supporting the Only Civic Fund. So come on out and bring your kids out. There will be tons of games and activities for kids, a giant slingshot, fire trucks, bounce houses.
All the things. Fireworks at night, I think.
Yep, fireworks at night. So come on out and stop by and see us. We'll have some games and prizes and information. So hope to see you at one of these events. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Bye.